In Focus is powered in part by Delta Dental of Colorado, improving the oral health of the communities we serve. DeltaDentalCO.com.
Welcome to In Focus with Eden Lane.
After Equinox Theatre Company's successful opening weekend of Bat Boy the Musical, they had to suspend the run. Adam Perkes, who starred as the title character, lost his life in a Glenwood Springs hotel room. We learn about how the company made the difficult decision to continue production from producer Deb Flomberg and director Colin Roybal. Well, I'm so glad that we're able to come and talk to you as you reopen Bat Boy the Musical. It's challenging for you this week because of the circumstances where you're relaunching, so I appreciate you taking time to talk to us about it.
It's our pleasure.
Let's just start with how you even picked this musical.
Well, when we were deciding on our cult season for this year, we decided to pick some really funny, interesting pieces that had both comedy and heart in them. So this was one of the ones that stood out to us and one that we've always wanted to do.
So when he brought this idea to the company, what was your reaction to do Bat Boy?
You know, honestly, I did not know the show that well. And if there's one thing I've learned over the many years that we've worked together, it's that I trust his vision. And you know, if he says it's going to be a great show, I follow him. And then I read the script and agreed. It's touching, it's hilarious, and there was a deeper message in there that was kind of nice to find.
What do you think that message is?
It's about acceptance, and accepting people and not prejudging people, and it's as simple and, you know, as it really is. It's something that's kind of hidden in this campy, ridiculous weekly world news story.
So you had a really successful opening weekend already. Tell me about that.
It was amazing. You know, we had 2 full houses for opening weekend. Second night was so full that there wasn't even a seat for me. I mean, I had to stand in the back, which was a great problem.
A producer's dream.
Yeah.
Never have
Yeah, it was a wonderful thing. And the house just, they loved it. I mean, it was standing ovations, you know, all the laughter in all the right places, you know, hooting and hollering and having a blast. And it was truly a wonderful opening weekend.
Tell me about your cast.
The cast is incredible. It's truly an ensemble piece. So everybody, they really have come together and given a group energy to this piece that just gives it life.
So after your sold-out opening weekend, I'm sure it was a big emotional release for the entire company, but your Bat Boy needed to take a break and go off and decompress. His name is Adam.
Yes.
And I want you to tell me about what that weekend was like with Adam first.
The weekend that, the first weekend was just incredible. I mean, Adam gave the best performance I've ever seen from him, and I've worked with him for several years. And just
the last time I saw him was on Halloween in Sweeney Todd. Yes.
He was Pirelli. He was
brilliant.
Yeah, he just always has an energy on stage. And yeah, I mean, we've both worked with him for many years, and seeing him just kind of glow like he did opening weekend was truly beautiful.
Was there any indication to you at the end of that weekend that he was anything other than happy with how it went?
You know, Adam always was very introspective with his performances, and after this weekend of performances in particular, he was a little withdrawn, but not more than what I would say was normal Adam.
When these things happen, that's the natural thing, is to dissect our final moments with each other. Did you find yourselves doing that?
I
went over the what ifs. What if I'd have done this? What if we'd have seen, you know, thousands of times in my head.
Constantly.
There's no way to not do that.
Right. Yeah. Were you able to come together after you found out that you had lost Adam?
So we, Colin and I found out together on Thursday. And we talked about it for a while on the best way to handle it with the cast.
So they didn't all necessarily know?
Not at that point. And you know, as things have a way of spreading, we didn't want them to find out on Facebook. You know, it was one of those things where this was such a traumatic event that we wanted to be there for them. We did it in Colin's living room where it was comfortable and kind of cozy.
More like family.
Exactly. And it's one of those things that you don't know how you're going to say what you're about to say. And you're looking into the faces of these amazing artists and people, and you have to tell them that someone's been lost. And Colin did it so eloquently.
How were you able to do that, Colin?
Quite honestly, I thought it was a little abrupt. I didn't have any way to sugarcoat it or pad it in any way. I gave them the news and let them know that, you know, we're still a family here and everybody's here to support each other, and that's why we're all together to receive the news, not to get it over the phone or get it through social media, God forbid. And that was the only way that I could break it to them, is that our family's lost somebody.
We know that when artists come together in a collaborative effort, especially in theater, they become a temporary family. You've used that word several times. But setting aside the idea of the emotional impact, you're also responsible to the Equinox Theatre Company.
Yes.
And that's a devastating impact to lose your title character when your run has just opened. It can not just impact the work, but it can be financially devastating. At what point did you begin to grapple with how that would affect the Equinox Theatre Company?
The shock that went over me was replaced quickly by repair mode, survival mode. What do I have to do?
What do you mean when you say that?
Well, what do I have to do to fix this situation? What needs to be done? Not only with, you know, telling the cast and breaking the news that way, you know, we've lost a family member, we've lost a cast member, but what do we do to fix the immediate need for the show?
Well, I think both of us immediately went into that kind of, you know, producer, repair mode, as did the rest of our board. You know, it was kind of an instant, okay, we have to go forward, what do we do? But at the same time, I know, speaking for myself, I wasn't able to really focus on that right away either. You know, and same thing with the whole cast. And so we did kind of decide that we would let the cast make the decision as far as what would happen.
Is there a component of the cast wanting, and you wanting, to continue to celebrate and pay tribute to the work that you had done together with Adam?
Absolutely.
Was there a component of that?
That was kind of the resounding response, was that we wanted to go on to, like you said, pay tribute to Adam, pay tribute to everybody that's put in immense amount of work to the show.
And everybody who might be struggling in the same way that Adam was apparently struggling.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think the one thing I think that we all kind of agreed with was that if we closed the show and walked away, then we would always look back on it with pain. It would be this constant reminder and this painful point in our life. But if we came together as a family and as artists and reopened and worked hard and made it happen in celebration of Adam and in celebration of all of the people that worked so hard, then we could find some sort of victory and triumph over all of that pain.
And we know that you're working this week on being able to reopen in just a few days as we sit here, to give us 2 weekends to enjoy this production at the Equinox Theatre Company. How did that happen?
You know, it was, it started with a phone call with John Moore. And he and I spoke a lot when this happened. And, you know, he kind of mentioned, he was like, you know, Nick Sugar did the role. And you may want to reach out to him. And
And you hadn't had a professional relationship with
No.
Nick as a theater company before,
No,
correct?
he's never worked with us. I had met him in passing. You know, we weren't very close, but and John kind of reached out to Nick ahead of time for me a little bit, and then I called him, and he was so just gracious, and absolutely, there was no hesitation in his voice, and he said, of course, of course I'll do whatever I can to help you guys out. And it was that moment of the amazing ability for artists to come together and
what a
support
blessing
each
he was
other.
available.
Yeah. I mean, he's a busy man. So yeah, it was kind of amazing that he was not in performances or rehearsals. And
I think it's just a living testament of how a community can band together in the face of some kind of trouble or tragedy like this.
So you've had a few company rehearsals already?
Yes, we've actually last night we had a full cast run of the show, and it was great. The cast came together for the first time all together, back on the stage working on the show, and it was tough. There was a lot of tears, obviously, and
well, there are moments in the material that really underscore what you've all experienced as well.
Very much so.
Yeah.
The climactic scene was the most difficult to get through for the
And
entire
last night
cast.
was the first time you did that as a group, where you got that far.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really tough. After it was done, after the run was done, there was this kind of silence, this heavy silence that kind of sat for a moment. But there was also a little bit of a feeling of relief, I think, from me, that, okay, we can do this, and we can move on.
And you will.
Yes.
Because you open reopen in just a few days.
Yeah.
I know this has been a different kind of challenge than you thought you would face when you began this process. And I have to say, I admire the company's ability to keep moving forward and honor the work they've done together, the work that Adam has done, and the struggle that lots of people are facing that Adam represents for so many. And I appreciate you sharing this with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we meet the award-winning producer, director, actor, and choreographer who has stepped in to play the role of Bat Boy for Equinox Theatre Company, Nick Sugar. He had played this role back in 2004. Thanks for letting us interrupt your private rehearsal. Last night you had your first full run with the company.
With the
Bat
entire
Boy.
cast, yes.
What was that like?
It was very overwhelming and sweet, and there was a whole bunch of emotions going on. But it was wonderful. It's an incredible group of artists.
What was it like for you to walk into the middle of a family that way?
With a lot of love and embraces, and it was just very nice to be welcomed.
How did you find out about what happened with Adam and that they were going to need some help? How did you find out that they needed you?
I found out through John Moore, and then I saw a posting on Facebook that he had written. Yeah.
What was your reaction when did you know Adam before?
I did not know Adam.
You did not
I've
know
heard
Adam.
lovely things about him.
So you didn't know Adam, and you didn't really know this company. What made you want to embrace this challenge to help them through this difficult process?
I think theater can be very therapeutic, and I think this is a time that we can all come together and help each other out.
So you've done this role before.
I have.
It's been a little while.
It's been a lot of while.
It's been a lot of while. Tell me about what that was like for you when you did it the first time.
The first time we had a blast. I loved this show. I saw the original production, and I knew I wanted...
In New York?
In New York, and I knew I wanted to do it at some point at my theater company back in the day. And we did it. We got it together and presented it, and we had a blast doing it.
So what's the appeal of Bat Boy the musical for you?
It's just so campy, irreverent, and yet it's wrapped around a true beating heart and how to nurture that. And that's what really stands out.
sort of really underscores the reason that you wanted to help this company get through it too.
Definitely, definitely. This company has a lot of heart to push through this, and I saw that last night through every cast member and their team. So,
when something like this happens in a community, it can't help but ripple throughout every group of actors in the community. What's your take on how your friends, your colleagues, your peers are absorbing what's happened and what's about to happen in terms of you taking over the role?
I think it's really difficult because you want to just step in and completely continue to put the shine on Adam. I mean, I really want him to be honored. And I'm getting thank yous, and that feels awkward. You know, don't thank me until we're open, because right now it's, you know, it's a process. It's tough.
Why do you think they're thanking you already?
You know, I think as you know, it's really difficult. As a producer, I understand what Equinox is going through and the struggles of a small theater company, and as a hurting person, I understand that as well. So I think there are so many elements and levels to all of this. That's why it's really hard to just, you know, give one answer.
Yeah.
So it's on many levels that I think it's important that we all do this. The cast, the company, myself, and the reason you're here, and all of it.
When you say you want to help keep some of the attention, some of the shine on Adam, how do you do that and still be true to yourself as an artist, because it's still going to be your performance? So how do you do that?
I don't know yet. I'll let you know when we reopen.
Yeah. What is the biggest challenge in trying to meet that goal so far?
You know, not to get in the way, not to get in my head too much. That's last night was great. It was just when I saw everybody on stage and kind of get an understanding of what their vision is of the show and what Colin has directed them to do. Because I obviously go to some safety places where, you know, oh, this is what I did before, but that doesn't quite work here. And
yeah.
And just trying to get the lines and the music and all of it.
Is it easy to pick it back up? Do you have that kinesthetic response when you're in the moment of those lines or the music? Does it?
I personally don't think so, but last night a few people said it was okay, so, but not right now.
Not yet.
It feels clunky for me right now.
Is it harder to start it fresh, or is it harder to step in this way and revisit a role you've already done?
I don't know. It's you know what? It's never easy, period. If it's easy, everyone would do it. It's not an easy process. It's always a challenge, and that's what I hope I'm up for. Yeah.
What do you think the message is of this production of Bat Boy?
I think the message, I mean, the overall message is the show must go on. The message that we're a community and we're here for each other. You know, so many times I feel like people think, oh, I can't reach out, or that's unattainable, or that person's unapproachable. But I think as a company, we need to always be here for each other. And this is hopefully a part of that, saying, you know, we're all important, we're all in this together. It's just as important to me as everyone who pitched in $1 for Shelley Bordas and her battle. So
it's interesting these situations happen so close in time with Shelley and with Adam, and feeling that Colorado's theater community is a community. What is that like for you as a member of it?
It's amazing. It's really, truly a beautiful thing, because I came to Colorado and it wasn't that kind of community. And, you know, smaller theater companies struggle to survive. And so, you know, you're just wanting the audience base, and you're wanting people to come see your shows, and so you can keep going and you know, and create. And it's a little dog eat dogs at times, but I think this is a way that we can really pull together and support each other, and let's not have another theater company go down without a fight, and let's really push through. And you know, we're all presenting something to Denver. We all want to get, you know, art out and say that this culture and this craft is important, and it needs to be supported regardless.
I can tell that's part of your motivation for saying yes,
Yes.
helping them
Totally.
produce this.
Mm-hmm.
When you hung up the phone or finally said yes and you had that initial moment alone when you realized you were about to do this, what went through your head?
Where's my script? Where's everything? And just, you know, how am I going to do this? It's 9 years ago, and things change, and
it's a completely different director, different take on the material.
Yeah, completely. Mm-hmm. Everything's different.
So if we're coming to see you on opening night or that first weekend of the reopening, what is it you hope we're going to take with us beside the fact that we had a nice theatrical experience?
I hope a lot of things. I hope, one, that you enjoy the production. I hope that you laugh and you really have an enjoyable time at the theater. And secondly, I hope people will understand the heart and the message behind not only the piece, but this company and everyone involved in putting this together. This is a community. This audience out here and what's happening on stage, we're in this together. And so hopefully everybody will feel that.
Thanks for taking this challenge on and letting us come and talk to you about it.
Thanks for having me.
Now we get context from John Moore, who for 12 years was the Denver Post theater critic and reporter and continues that work for culturewest.org. So I appreciate that you're here today while we're talking about the Equinox production of Bat Boy the Musical. You played an integral role in getting everyone connected for this relaunch. Why did you even get involved?
Well, I'm still at the core a journalist first, and one of the credos of journalism is that you report the story, you don't become a part of the story. But this is a unique situation, and I don't think anybody was really prepared for how best to move forward from something like this. And if I did anything, I just connected a couple of dots that would have gotten connected anyway.
Yeah. What was the initial reaction when you heard about Adam?
Incredible heart sickness and sadness, not only for Adam and for Adam's family, but for the theater community family. Mental illness and suicide is a scourge in our society, and I don't think there's a whole lot of understanding about it. And as you know, one of the reasons I left the Denver Post a year ago was to pursue research and study and writing a manuscript on the theatrical exploration of suicide. So it's a subject that's deeply close to my heart, and I knew Adam as a performer. I nominated him for an award for his performance in Habeas Corpus at Miners Alley Playhouse. She has burst onto the scene in this comedy. It's wonderful when you're a theater critic and you see somebody who's new and they just come onto a stage with a sense of fearlessness. They're already there.
Right.
And it was really a remarkable introduction to the Denver theater community, I think. And to think that life has been snuffed out, it's just indefinable sadness.
And while Adam didn't leave a note, so we don't necessarily know what his intentions were, we do know that he was struggling with panic and other emotions. And that feeds right into that project that you're working on. So it must have hit pretty close to home for you when you're spending that much time with this kind of topic.
Well, when you start to pay attention to it, it's the regularity that just starts to become numbingly sad to you. The amount of loss. I think part of the message that I want to impart in the project that I'm working on is that of understanding and catharsis for those who live on, and lack of judgment, leaving judgment behind of those who die. It's interesting that you were talking about the Shelley Bordas story. A number of remarkable things have been going on in the Colorado theater community this winter, and a lot of incredibly sad stories.
Yeah.
But the way the community responded to Shelley Bordas's diagnosis of terminal cancer really speaks to the way America as a whole responds to disease.
Yeah.
When someone gets a terminal disease like cancer and rallies forth and says, I am going to fight you to my last breath for the sake of my 4-year-old son, there's not a human being on the planet who's not going to stand behind Shelley Bordas and say, you go, Shells, you go.
Right.
We are behind you 100%. That's not the same kind of support that we give people who are suffering from mental illness. But as the statistics bear out, whether you're struggling from a disease that's definable like cancer or something that's less definable like mental illness, it's still just as fatal. And I think that we as a society really need to come a long way in terms of treating that struggle with just as much support as we do for other more definable diseases.
It's interesting to see Colorado's theatrical community respond by rallying around.
Absolutely. It makes perfect sense that artists would rally around artists, because it's part of the exploration of everything that they do on a stage is figuring out the human condition. And when the human condition plays out on the street as opposed to on the stage, I'm very proud of the Colorado theater community for doing what's intrinsic to them.
Yeah. I have to say I'm very proud to get to be among them as well for these very same reasons. And I really appreciate you ducking in here as we were talking to the company about their relaunch of Bat Boy to help us put it in a little bit more context. Thanks so much.
Well, you're welcome. And I do want to say, going back a number of years with Nick Sugar, that there are stories and there are human experiences. And I think if people have never seen Bat Boy before or ever heard of Equinox Theatre Company, I think they should come as a show of support to show the best in what artists do, because I think it's going to be on display.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Equinox Theatre Company's production of Bat Boy the Musical will go on at the Bug Theatre, but just for 2 weekends. Details are available at their webpage, equinoxtheatredenver.com.
That's all for this edition. Remember to join us on Facebook and Twitter. With all that Colorado has to offer, we're here to help you keep it in focus. Thanks for watching. Good night.